ESNS systems are very susceptible to manipulation or compromise. And Dominion made some modifications after 2020, but they were kind of, as you're describing, and from what I understand from our previous conversation, Susan, doing self-policing on their software and on their machines.
Yeah, and so I'll say it's not just ESNS, it's pretty much all of the systems. Whenever anyone's had the chance to look at them, to really, like an independent security expert to look at them, they find that that the security and the engineering is really woefully inadequate. A lot of these systems have been looked at the DEF CON voting village as part of the DEF CON Hackers Conference. There was also a couple of reports done or thorough investigations and reports done in the late 2000s by the Secretary of State of Ohio and the Secretary of State of California, where they pulled these machines apart from top to bottom by computer scientists and looked at them and found the vulnerabilities. And the concerning thing is, and you'd say, well, that was, quite some time ago, like 2008 or so, but the machines are still being certified to standards from the same standards. Like the machines we're using today were certified to the standards that those machines were. And the problem when we see things like vulnerabilities that crop up, and as you mentioned, Dominion then claimed that they made some changes to their system to address the vulnerabilities. Nobody goes and looks at the way they've changed it to make sure that it actually closes those gaps in security or those weaknesses or vulnerabilities, other than Dominion. And Dominion's the ones that engineered it with those problems in the first place. So I don't know how much we can trust them to know that it's effectively closed. So that kind of starts to set the stage as to the type of oversight that has been constant in the election systems around the country. And why we don't have the robust systems we really need. For a long time, the people that were most concerned about the security of voting machines, or still are the computer scientists. And the leadership in Congress and in a lot of the state legislatures that was most interested were the Democrats. And you would Kamala Harris, Ron Wyden, Elizabeth Warren, Jerry Nadler. These were people who have always sort of led the charge to try and put pressure to improve our election systems and make them more secure and hold the vendors more accountable. Zoe Lofgren on the House Administration Committee. But unfortunately, as politics does, things even often get turned on their head. And when Trump made such ridiculous and outrageous and unfounded, baseless claims of election fraud to try and insist that he didn't lose the 2020 election, there was this whiplash response to say, no, everything is secure. And the truth is really somewhere in the middle. There's no evidence that the 2020 election was rigged in Trump's favor from widespread fraud, and they had the opportunity to look for it. They did recounts, so they didn't find anything. Unfortunately, we still have the same vulnerable systems that we've known have been vulnerable since pre-2020, and they've been made more vulnerable when we know that allies of Donald Trump stole copies of the voting system software from multiple states and then shared it amongst their networks of other MAGA Trump supporters. And that compromised software was what counted the 2024 election. And yet we didn't have the same type of effort to recount, just to verify, just to make sure that the results that the computers are generating, that we're not just taking them at face value, because we know enough about those computers to know that they are vulnerable and they're not 100% reliable.